Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the Cybersecurity Skills Development webinar produced by the Cybersecurity Chapter. They'll be discussing skills and readiness for 5RR, cybersecurity degree, and cybersecurity challenges. Before we start and I introduce you to our host, I just like to read a few webinar considerations. Attendees are reminded to ensure the volume is turned up on their device. Ensure you have a stable internet connection. This will ensure the streaming and audio will run smoothly. Attendees can ask questions via the questions panel located within the GoToWebinar control panel. By default, the control panel is located on the right-hand side of your screen. The chat function is reserved for webinar organizers and panelists to communicate with attendees. Attendees will not be able to chat with each other, however, are encouraged to ask questions. A recording of this presentation of these presentations will be made available on the SAIEE YouTube channel, SAIEE TV. The recording will also be made available on the SAIEE website under the events drop-down menu in the section past events and webinars. This page is updated regularly, so ensure you check back as often as possible for new uploads and subscribe to our YouTube channel. A certificate of attendance will be issued a few weeks after this webinar once we have received the CPD validation number from EXA. I'd like to now introduce you to our host tonight, as Ms. Michelle Govender. She's the chairman of the SAIEE Cyber Security Chapter. Michelle Govender is passionate about leadership in cybersecurity. She believes a secure digital business is a way of life going into the future. She uses her engineering knowledge and experience coupled with her passion for understanding people's digital behaviors to secure business. Her work experience includes power utility cybersecurity strategy, culture transformation, cyber risk management, and cyber resilience. Michelle is a professional engineer and certified information security manager endorsed by ISACA. She's appointed as a cybersecurity subject matter expert in the SEAGRAE World Bank African Utilities Initiative, which aims to expand knowledge on the African continent. SEAGRAE is an international electricity research body. Michelle ensures she participates at an international level, which ensures her work and contribution to utilities in Africa is of a global standard. Passionate about risk management, Michelle has achieved a postgraduate diploma at UNISA in applied risk management, and she's also an advisor nationally and internationally, and Michelle is driving secure digital business. I hand you over now to the chairman.
Thank you kindly for that warm introduction, Minx, and a very warm welcome to all of our attendees as well as our speakers today at our event today. I'd like to welcome you to the discussion on cybersecurity skills. It's a pleasure hosting you today and sharing with you the opportunities available to the engineering fraternity to advance yourself in the cybersecurity field. With the emergence of network devices in the industrial space, the convergence of industrial control systems, also known as operational technology, with information technology, we are faced with many emerging threats to both safety and security of our plant as well as our environment. This is, in its effect, has created an opportunity for us to develop as engineers in the cybersecurity field, both growing cybersecurity knowledge and expertise, as well as using our experience as engineers to secure the space. So if you have been a practicing electrical or electronic engineer, and the obvious one being that if you have been a computer engineer and continue to practice as one, and looking for something new to get involved in, cybersecurity is definitely for you. This discussion today aims to definitely help you determine how you could further develop yourself. Some of the topics we will be addressing today includes how we should prepare for the first industrial revolution and the cybersecurity skills that are required to secure this new world. Dr. Renier will be sharing with us a little bit more about cybersecurity challenge and hackathon that you could use and participate in to further develop your skills, as well as Prof. Joey van Vuuren will take us through the cybersecurity degree that we offer here in South Africa, but to all of our engineers in the fraternity. So I'd like to start off this conversation today by just reading a quote by Peter Drucker. We now accept the fact that learning is a lifelong process of keeping abreast of change, and the most pressing task is to teach people how to learn. With that, colleagues, I'd like to welcome you to use this opportunity to discover what opportunities lie ahead for you in developing yourself further in this field. I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker this evening, Professor Meera Joseph. Prof. Meera Joseph works as an independent contractor at the Independent Institute of Education, South Africa. She is also the invited doctoral and master supervisor at Da Vinci Institute as of the end of 2020, and the invited DBA doctoral supervisor at Mill Park Business School. She is the professional member of the Institute of Information Technology Professional South Africa and a full member of IEEE, which we are well acquainted with. She is currently the IEEE Computer Society SA Chapter Chair. In 2020, she was promoted to the grade Senior Member, SAIEE, and Senior Member IEEE. Welcome, Professor Meera Joseph.
Excuse me, Prof. Joseph, you must just unmute, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, that's fine. So today I'll be presenting on addressing cybersecurity skills and readiness for fifth industrial revolution. So basically, I'll briefly speak about the fourth industrial revolution and move to fifth industrial revolution. And we will see the skills required for cybersecurity. So fourth industrial revolution, we had the production innovation brought about by AI, robotics, blockchain, crypto, and virtual reality. So we have an opportunity to tackle cybersecurity skills shortage amongst other opportunity to lead in 4IR. But when it came to fifth industrial revolution, there's more personalization, a deep multi-level cooperation between the people and the machine. So say for example, in Industry 5.0, there's more collaborative robots in the case of manufacturing, for instance, with more precision accuracy. So when we move from fourth industrial revolution to fifth industrial revolution, the skills required would be more complex and the threats in the cyberspace would be varied. So many new cybersecurity skills are required as the revolutions become more complex, and this skills gap has many consequences. So let's look at the cybersecurity awareness in one of the scenarios. You identify the threats in a particular area, you understand the external cybersecurity threats, for example, in this particular context, understand your internal and external cybersecurity threats. You assess your risk exposure, determine the likelihood or vulnerability of being exploited by your external threats. In a typical scenario, okay, you would develop your protection and detection mechanism, reduce the impact of vulnerability, establish your contingency plan, develop a response plan to reduce the impact of threat. So respond to your cybersecurity incidents as well. So let me give you a real world example of what happened recently regarding cybersecurity. So cyber squatting, for instance, where an Argentinian man buys a Google domain, for instance, recently, right? And then we had somebody who compromised the research data and demanded $1.4 million from University of California. So these are the recent ones. So in real world, these are the things that we see. So now let's look at the cybersecurity skills and themes. So some of the current skills that we are aware of is malware analysis or penetration testing skills that are required, code review, forensics, or threat intelligence, risk assessment, cryptography, or even network monitoring or incidents response. So these are the typical skills that even now in 4IR what we require. But imagine in few years down the line, when it's 5IR, the skills become more complex because of the interplay between the humans and the machines. There's more multi-level cooperation. So in 2018, cybersecurity workforce reports only 24% workforce is female, and this shows there's more scope to recruit skills from females as well. So there's more opportunity there, and there's cybersecurity ventures predicted 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs. So there is a skills gap, and there's opportunity for everyone to contribute. So, but there's a complexity in the domain, and there should be a high level of trust between the team members as well. Now, let's look at the skills in 4IR. So, if you look at the skills 4IR, we have the innovations through AI or a blockchain, crypto, etc. But the data breaches became more common. So in the fourth industrial revolution, communications became effective through the blockchain, AI, robotics, etc. But the data breaches are becoming more and more common. So secure cyber risk aggregation and measurements, CRAM. This is one of MIT's computer science and artificial intelligence lab. This is working towards something similar to what skills are required for 4IR. Right? So it uses a cryptographic tool that can calculate, aggregate statistics without needing organization to disclose information about their own attacks and losses to anyone else, even to the scientists themselves. Or aggregated encrypted sensitive data from multiple organizations, giving scientists a better understanding of what the most common attacks are and help develop defense statistics. Moving from 4IR to 5IR, this is what we see. In 4IR, we had digitalization, but in 5IR, it was more personalization. So 4IR actually started at the start of 21st century, and fifth industrial revolution is basically in the second decade of 21st century. So we are moving towards the fifth industrial revolution. AI, robotics, IoT, blockchain, and crypto is still part of your fourth industrial revolution, but in your fifth industrial revolution, the innovation, purpose, and inclusivity is what we focus on. Robotics, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, these are all part of 4IR, but in 5IR, we have a deep multi-level cooperation between the people and the machine, and there's more consciousness. So there will be more cyber security opportunities as the system become more complex in 5IR. So let's look at the fifth industrial revolution. In the fifth industrial revolution, customers want mass personalization. Say, for example, in Industry 5.0, we have humans that will be placed at the center of the industry production, right? So 5IR will be exciting time for cybersecurity professional. There'll be network sensors, for instance, that will collect data everywhere. These are just examples from your smart house to autonomous manufacturing plant to traffic in the street. And there will be data breaches there. Smart sensing, for instance, human brains as a source of signal. For instance, a robotic arm equipped with an instrument, so there would be data breaches there, for instance. Virtual training, okay, the autonomous driving, the drivers, pilots, firefighters, medical professionals, there as well, there can be data breaches. High-stake cases of hospital ransomware attack, so hackers hold patient data hostage, directly endangering the lives of patients. So these are typical examples where there would be data breaches. There are some local initiatives and short courses one could take as the certificate in cybersecurity professional practice and leadership from the WITS University, or there's ABSA has collaborated with the Maharishi Institute to set up the ABSA Cybersecurity Academy, right? So these are typical examples, initiatives that are available to the public right now. There's Fundamentals of Cybersecurity, short learning program in cybersecurity, cybersecurity from CPUT, cybersecurity from UP, cybersecurity from University of Stellenbosch. These are typical programs that one could look at. About this, Dr. Joey would speak about the degree as well, the degree program that's coming up. The most popular cybersecurity certifications are Certified Information Systems Security Professional, Certified Information Security Manager, Certified Ethical Hacker, Certified in Risk and Information Systems Control, Certified Cloud Security Professional, Certified Information System Auditor, Information System Security Management Professional, or Information System Security Architecture Professional. And there's also Computer Hacking Forensic Investigator. And one of the popular ones, Cybersecurity Managing Risk in the Information Age. This is from Harvard. Okay, but let's look at the future cybersecurity skills. Because there's an interplay between the humans and machines, if you look at your European Union Industry 5.0 document, you would see the needs are really slightly different. So future cybersecurity skills would be more on these key traits. It would be system thinkers, systematic and creative thinkers, team players, more cohesion and trust between the people and the team players, and technical and social skills, ability to discuss any malicious attempts or data breaches, for instance, right? And say, for example, continued learning. This is one of the future skills. Given the rapid changes in technology, they should have a passion for learning. People should have a passion for learning if you are in this space. Then communications, you need more emotional intelligence as well, obviously. Cognitive and critical thinking skills as well. So these are the things that you can expect. Now, let's look at the other cybersecurity skills. The demand for ethical hacking, that will spike, definitely. Future cybersecurity professionals should defend against relentless AI hacks as well. With the rise in internet connection, healthcare devices, with the rise in internet connected healthcare devices, hackers can gain access to that. Say, for example, can gain access to the pacemakers, and hackers can access the patient data, for instance. So data collection and its exchange form the basis for the functioning of sustainable business models of energy companies, and sensitive data there can be hacked as well. Say, for example, data related to smart grids and others that use renewables, for instance, that use AI and the cloud, right? So in conclusion, moving to 5R, there's a deep multi-level cooperation between the people and the machine, and there will be a dire need of varied skill set required to protect your data. So we need everyone from system thinkers to continued learners to communicators, or people with technical and social skills, because we're dealing with people more and more in 5R, especially when it comes to Industry 5.0. There we're looking at AI special security skills. Okay, so companies will invest billions of data, will invest on billions of data, and obviously you need special security skills to basically protect these data. Any questions? So I think we'll take the questions towards the end. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks so much for that, Prof. Meera. And I think it's so interesting that you mentioned that we need a diverse set of skills. You know, we often put a lot of emphasis on the technical skills that are required for development in the cybersecurity field. But as a practicing cybersecurity professional looking at industrial control systems myself, I see more and more a need for well-rounded engineers to be able to adapt themselves, to be continuously learning, and to be able to use their experience in the built environment, as well as using new skills that they develop in the cybersecurity space to be able to protect their organization. So thank you very much for sharing that. Our next speaker for this evening is Dr. Renier van Heerden. Renier is the Cybersecurity Manager at SANReN, heading up the proactive academic sector coordinating the CSAT. Renier obtained a degree in electronic engineering, a master's in computer engineering at the University of Pretoria, and a PhD at Rhodes University. Currently, Dr. Renier is an NRF-rated researcher and a research fellow at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Western Cape. Dr. Renier leads the Cybersecurity Challenge since its inception in 2016 and has obtained national sporting colors in mine sport, wargaming, and the national champion in 2010, as well as 2011, for the Ancients discipline. Currently, he is an active participant in the Impetus Ancients wargaming community. I'd like to welcome Dr. Renier to share a little bit more about using hackathons to develop your skills in cybersecurity. Welcome.
Good day, everybody. Can you check that my screen is shared?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Good day. I'm going to talk about the Cybersecurity Challenge that is hosted by SANReN. So what is Cybersecurity Challenge? It's an information security challenge that is hosted for, and the participants are from all the universities in South Africa, and in SADC are also invited. More information is available at the website csc.ac.za. The idea is that we have students, we don't care actually what they study, we're open to all of them, making teams of 3 to 4 people, and these teams then compete. Sorry, let's just check. I got a message that I'm unmuted. Okay. We got 3 to 4 persons per team, and we have 2 rounds of competitors. One round is a qualification round. One round, and the final round is the finals. So we have over 400 teams competing for the qualification round, and that's online for a week. And each university competes at a different time or a different date. This basically making it flexible to fit in with the roosters and the times of each university. We basically have an issue of with the COVID, and even before COVID with the timing. So this we're very flexible with the first round, and we negotiate with each university, and we have an open round for people that are not affiliated directly with university but still wants to compete as university students. And then in the finals, we then invite the top 10 teams to compete in the finals. We sponsor them to actually go to a conference. It was physically, but last year, unfortunately, it was online. This is just a summary of the qualification. It's online, 400 plus students, 15 institutions. For last year, 4 other countries competed. And it's basically the capture the flag format. And I will talk a bit later on that. So what does the finals looks like? It looks like this. We have booths for each of the students. They have 3 days which they compete. And on the first 2 days, they have captured the flag type of challenges, which are basically solving information security questions or problems in all the different disciplines of information security, from steganography, reverse engineering, password decoding, quite a lot of different fields that we give them questions, and then the team that has the highest marks can get that prize. But during those 2 days, we run 2 other sub-competitions, because we do find that once the team realizes that they are not winning, they then can concentrate on some other competitions to make everybody feel involved. And one is the social engineering challenge, where that differs each year. So, and it makes our life quite difficult because we allow the students to actually social engineer each other. So, for example, one year, one team will actually put in fake registration forms and put up a fake website, and then got some points from other teams by stealing their credentials, which isn't allowed in this competition. We have a hash decoding competition where we give them millions of hashes and some cloud credits to decode. And then finally, we have the attack and defend, and that happens on the 3rd day of the cybersecurity challenge. That's where the students are given a virtual computer with an old version of operating system. They have to have their secure shell, their IRC, their FTP, and 1 or 2 websites running with lots of security holes. We give them 2.5 hours to fix these holes, and then after a while, we open the network that they can see each other's networks. Each team has a similar computer and they knows, and then they get marks for their label in wherever it's set. So if they were able to hack their competitor's computer and they were able to put their label on it, they get marks. If they were able to denial of service a competitor, they get marks. If they're locked out of their own systems, they can ask for a reset and we will restore to an image for them. And then 10 minutes, well, they can't score marks. And what makes this also very interesting in this finals competition is that they actually are very tired by day 3, because for 2 days they've been working on a capture the flag type of challenges, and now they get this. But the feedback we get from the students are they love it. They're all very positive and help us always for the next year's recruitment. And then it's usually during the conference we give them some prizes and some medals and something to take away. So I'm going to give you an example of a capture the flag type of problem that we use to give you an idea of the type of scope or interesting problems we can give. So this is when we use Hacking Lab capture the flag system. We're going to use something else this year, but the principle is the same. So I'm going to just zoom in. So it's first an introduction to the problem, and here we talk about firewall rules and the fact that if you have IPv4 and IPv6, sometimes the administrator forgets to move the rules from IPv6 to IPv6, from 4 to 6. And then it gives you some details. So what you need to solve the problem, you need IPv6, you understand it, you understand that the tools nmap, you have a jump host where you start from and the credentials for the jump host, you have a target host, and then you can continue with in a virtual environment. This gives the students a safe environment where they can actually practice these hacking tools and practice defending against the tools without worrying of damaging networks or so forth. And then there's a goal is to have secure shell root access at the host. So this is all virtual and the virtual servers hosted by the Hacking Lab in Switzerland. So this image basically describes it. They basically, through a VPN, connect to a jump host, 192.168.200.177, which is a virtual machine for all the groups with some root encompasses is the credentials. Then there's a firewall, and then there's a target on the far right with a different IP. And then they have to go through all the hacking phases. They do a target identification, they have to do some reconnaissance with Nmap, figure out, okay, they can work through IPv 6 or IPv 4 stops them. And actually, by this problem, students have never seen IPv 6 before, actually forced themselves to learn it just to be able to solve this problem. So the amount of learning that happens when these capture the flags we were quite surprised about students that say that they have heard about IPv 6, they never used it, but to try to solve this problem, they quickly had to learn it and how it works. So I'm not going to go through all the steps because this problem can take a few hours to solve, but I wanted to give the audience an idea of the type of scope of the capture the flag problem. Some of the problems are actually downloadable. You can do them on your own time without internet connection, but with this one, you actually needed internet connection. And then just to show the final solution, where you actually finally get login onto the target computer and you check that you have the correct IP, and then you can actually do the damage phase of the attack, which in this one will be to compromise the confidentiality of some information, and you get a key that you then post back to the system. It's all online. It all requires very little interface from the organizers, and you can move on to the next question. And there's, for example, a zoom in on the solution. Just quickly on who we are and why do we do these challenges. We are part of the National Integrated Cyber Infrastructure System, part of which is hosted at the CSIR, and it's got 3 legs. It's got the RISA, the Data Intensive Research, CSPC, High Performance Computing, and SANReN, the group that I'm part of, the networking group, the South African Research and Education Network. And our goal are basically to enable universities and Science Council to have all the bandwidth and the expertise to do their research and education, so that the bandwidth and network is not a limitation. So the short for ourselves are called the SANReN. There are SANReNs all over the world. There are over 530 in the world, and we do not only network, but we do services. You might have heard about Eduroam, a network available to students and university lecturers and people working in Science Council. That's a single sign-on for all over the world. And our goal is also to look at cybersecurity for our beneficiaries and cybersecurity human capital development. And that's where this cybersecurity challenge falls in, is to spark the interest in information security and cybersecurity in students. And a lot of students also tell us they do not know where to begin. They've heard about information security. They maybe are unlucky that they didn't study the course, or the course is not available to them. But here is for us something for them to begin, to start to play with in a safe environment where they can test the tools, they can test the environment, and basically get that first spark of knowledge where they then can maybe register for courses in information security, or tell their future employers that they are interested in that and want to study further in information security. Just to show, the SANReN is a network that connects basically all the over 300 sites in South Africa, with a lot of bandwidth going from Cape Town to Europe, and from Tanzania up to also through to Europe, and with some big backbones between Johannesburg and Cape Town. It's an ever-growing network, and basically sponsored partly by the universities and science councils, and partly directly by the state. Okay, this slide already shown to you, but that's basically it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Renier, for sharing that very insightful presentation with us. And I think it's key here to note that While formal methods of educating ourselves and improving our skill sets are available, there are other ways that we can develop cybersecurity skills as well. And participating in challenges such as the one that Dr. Renier has mentioned is definitely one way to go about doing it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker for the evening, Professor Joey Jansen van Vuuren. Professor Joey heads up the Computer Science Department at the Tshwane University of Technology and is the Vice Chair of IFIP, Federation for Information Processing, Working Group 9.10. Her research focuses on cybersecurity, education, government, and policy. She was the South African Cybersecurity Center of Innovation Coordinator for the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, that proposed certain cybersecurity government initiatives in South Africa. The center also focused on promoting research, collaboration, cybersecurity education, and the exchange of cyber threats. Previously, as the research group leader for cyber defense at CSIR, she gave the strategic research direction for the research conducted for the South African National Defense Force and government sectors on cyber defense. I'd like to welcome Professor Joey Jansen van Vuuren.
Thank you. I just want to see now suddenly this screen is very big. Okay, I'll put it down. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Prof.
Not yet. I wonder why. So you can't see my screen.
You would have received a prompt to share your screen. You just press OK.
Okay, maybe that is the one that is the small one that I. Is it there now?
No, not yet.
Can you send the prompt again, please?
Let me send it again.
You just don't want to show it to me. Okay, let me just go out this thing again. Show my screen. Can you see it now?
Now we're waiting to see your screen. You would have received a prompt in the middle of your screen to share your screen.
I did click on it. I did click on it. I don't know why it's not showing. And it worked 100% earlier tonight. No.
Yes, let me try that again. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please continue.
Okay.
We've just lost your presentation.
You lost it.
Yeah, there we go. Go to presentation mode. Click now.
I'm in presentation mode.
No, we're seeing the wrong screen.
I don't understand what screen are you seeing?
Okay, now we see your
This
title
one.
slide in full presentation mode. Yes.
Okay, in full presentation mode, do you see it?
Now you've taken it out of presentation mode.
I did not. I don't know. Okay, so
we
it's
are
in
seeing your
presentation mode with me.
Yeah, we're seeing your presentation,
Okay,
all the
that's fine.
upcoming pages.
You see all the presentation mode and?
We're seeing all your upcoming pages. We're not seeing presentation mode.
Okay, now I'm going to put in presentation mode again.
Now we see page.
I just want to. Okay. I'm so
Click on
sorry.
presentation mode. Click on presentation mode at the
I'm
bottom
now,
of your.
I did. You can I only
Yeah.
see my presentation. I don't see anything else.
Okay, then you've got the wrong screen that you're sharing with us. There we go. Now we see your full
Okay, I'll
presentation.
try again. Okay.
There we go.
Right. So
Thank you.
I'm going to talk about. Thanks. I'm going to talk about the collaborative master's degree of the BRICS countries. It is going to focus on cybersecurity and data science. And we are two people working together on that. Is Prof. Turgai Silikov, University of Witwatersrand, and me from Tshwane University of Technology. Just a little bit on the BRICS university networks. As the BRICS University Networks, or the ITG, is aimed at the developing of partnerships and exchange programs in 6 thematic areas, of which one is the one that we work on, that is the computer science and information data security area. There's 60 universities in the BRICS networks, 12 each from the 5 BRICS countries that is taking part in this BRICS network university area. We're currently busy with the curriculum of a BRICS University Master's degree in cybersecurity. Unfortunately, this whole thing of the COVID actually put us backwards for nearly 2 years now, because we couldn't meet to sort out all the details of the qualification itself. We also did the cybersecurity hackathon that started in 2019 internationally with Universities International, that we also worked together with SANReN, and that was the final for their students that unfortunately we couldn't do due to COVID. Now, what is the cybersecurity discipline? The cybersecurity The cybersecurity discipline is involving technology, people, information, processes, and enables assured operations in the context of adversaries. It involves the creation, operation, analysis, and testing of secure computer systems. And what's very, very important here, it's an interdisciplinary course of study. Now, this was the definition done by the Joint Task Force on Cybersecurity Education, that all the computing societies, the most important computing societies over the world, took part in. And they actually wrote the direction for the different societies as well as the ICM curriculum. Now, if you look at the cybersecurity discipline itself, what we talked about, there's a lot of things that's working together. You've got the risk management, the human factors, the ethics, the policy, and the law. But underneath, the pillars are computer science, computer engineering, information technology, information systems, and software engineering. And what's very important here, that we can see that cybersecurity, as we see it, especially in 5IR, is much wider than only network security. That was the perception in the past, that cybersecurity stops at network security. So if you look at the cybersecurity body of knowledge, and we use again that pillars that we previously had, we can look at it. We've got 8 knowledge areas: data security, software security, component security, connection security, system security, human security, organizational security, and societal security. Now, there you can see it's much wider than previously the perception was about cybersecurity. So there are cross-cutting concepts as well that includes confidentiality, integrity, availability, risk, adversarial thinking, and systems thinking. Now let's look at big data privacy and security. So that is also very important. If you look at big data scientists also need cybersecurity knowledge, because when they mine sensitive data, you must remember they can't leak information of individuals out. And sometimes when you give the results of mining, people can backtrack and see whose information it was that's used to get that results. So the ethics and security of cloud systems and social information becomes very, very important. And that's the reason why we said that we want to do data science and cybersecurity together in this master's degree. So this cybersecurity, what is the career path of the future? For 5IR, we only see that it can work if data science and cybersecurity professionals work together. It's currently two of the most popular career paths in computer science, and they are getting together now. So we have to combine these skill sets to be ready for the next decade of 5IR. Now, AI and data science is used to augment traditional cybersecurity. So cybersecurity platforms use now behavior-based analytics and responses. And cybersecurity professionals must manage now data fit into systems and need to protect these systems. So if we look at the cybersecurity workforce requirements, it's strange for you that we looked at that, but it was very important for us in the development of this master's degree. Now, firstly, a cybersecurity person must be agile. That means he must be able to shift between the roles or needs, depending where he needs to support people. Previously it was referred that they have to work with the people in the companies, etc. So it's a large area that they're responsible for. They must be multifunctional. That means they must maintain and execute a variety of activities all at a given time. Because if there's threats coming in, they must leave what they're currently doing, immediately look at the threats, then also work with the human capital as well that must help them to sort out the threats. They must be dynamic. That means they must have the ability to provide for constant learning to effectively approach new endeavors and problems. They must be flexible. That is very important, that they can move into new roles and environments very, very quickly. And they also have to read and study all the time to get new knowledge and skills. Also, the cybersecurity professional is not the normal office type of person. They must be able to use in non-traditional environments. So what was, from that, what did we decide what our cybersecurity curriculum must include? We said there must be information and risk. That means we need, as people must be able to develop models, including confidentiality, integrity, and available models. They must understand threats and attacks. They must understand when there's an attack. They must understand the typical attacks and how those attacks exploit vulnerabilities and what to do when they get attacked. Then they must understand cybersecurity architecture and operations. So that means that's more the old network security, that they must understand physical and process controls that can be implemented across organizations. And these process controls also include, for instance, process controls in the mines, because now suddenly those type of systems are also vulnerable to cyber attacks. They have to secure systems and products. That means if they develop new systems, they must understand how to do defensive programming and make sure that they test their application to build robust and resilient systems fit for purpose. It's very, very important to note that a lot of the threats currently in our environments are actually systems that's attacked and not necessarily the network that is attacked. The network is getting much better nowadays. Then there must be cybersecurity management included. Then that means they must understand the personal, organizational and legal or regulatory context of information systems. And then it also includes cybercrime investigation that most people don't even think of. That means they must understand the cybercrime laws. They must understand how do you respond to litigation and what all the laws on privacy are. You've heard a lot of the POPI Acts, etc., that is now coming in, but so much wider than people have seen previously from cybersecurity. So the proposal from South Africa, we haven't registered yet, as we didn't get approval from all the stakeholders overseas. As our international stakeholders, we couldn't collaborate in the last 2 years. So what we wanted to do is we want to have a master's degree. Now you've got two options for a master's degree. You can do a normal MSc with cybersecurity, or you can have a professional master's degree, but that one is much more specific. Now, in that case, we will talk about the Masters of Cybersecurity in Data Science or an M-Cyber in Data Science. That means it's specialized in data science in the cybersecurity environment as well. Now, if you look at what we looked at that, if you do the MSc degree in cybersecurity, the research component is at least 60 credits. That means half of the credits must be research. in opposed to what the one that we are really looking at is more the master's degree, the professional degree, that the research component is only 25% of the credits, therefore 45 credits less, 35 to 45 credits less of the normal master's degree that you do, the structured degree. Then we looked at, if we do that, what are we going to do? We will have a core in the degree, and then we will have electives. That means focus areas that the people can specialize in the second year, also as part of the research. The specializations will include data and software security, that includes the big data security. We will have systems component and network security, that is more your traditional IT security, that includes AI and machine learning for predictions. And then you've got the third part is the human, organizational and social security, that includes the analytics on social networks and other platforms, as well as the cybercrime investigations. Now, if I can summarize it, it looks like this. We want to have research online with the specializations that we said just now, with data security, software security, component security, connection security, and system security. But we will have compulsory modules, that is human security, organizational security, societal security, and principles of data science. The reason for the compulsory modules is that it doesn't matter if you work in what area you're currently working. If you're working in the more direct low-level security, or in the software security or the data security, you need to understand the human in the cybersecurity process. You need to understand cybersecurity in the organization, as well as the influence on the people. And without the principles of data science, we won't be able to include the data science in our master's degree. So if you look at this master's degree, what the person will apply at the home institution in the home country. If a person is accepted, he will go on and register at the home institution in the home country, and then he will register online for the coursework. Now, these coursework will run from the different countries. Every country will have certain areas of the coursework that they will administer, and then the coursework will be completed, and then the research can be done in the home or the host country. There's specific already bursaries available in Russia for people that wants to exchange to Russia. Already got one student that exchanged to Russia, so that will be the option. So in this case, but you can also do it in your own country. When the research is completed, the student will get the qualification from the host institution. There were proposals from other BRICS countries. This proposal was, for instance, for Russia. It's got also 2 years like us, but you can see that there's a lot of basic logic in it, as that we normally do in our foundation of computer science, that they also do there. And they added a lot of modern crypto there in their algorithms, but they also do the distributed systems, the security laws, the risk management, etc. Then in the second year, they've included quite a lot of internships, a research internship, a senior internship. They also do, again, the network security and network security defense technologies. That is where the capture the flag exercises came in, that we did together with them. And then they do the thesis defense. And then they also do foreign language and professional activities, because the Russian people really struggle with English at the moment. So if they want to go to another country, they need to have language skills in that country. Data processing, analysis, and applied artificial intelligence. The Indian proposal we didn't get yet. They did talk about it, but the Indian proposal is much nearer to our proposal. We now have to integrate the 3 proposals together to get the final proposal. Hopefully that will happen this year. So we need to only do that on the qualifiers and discussions with the big countries. That means we can get their input, what they want to do. And then we also want from our side the industry contributions. That means from all the professional societies in South Africa, what would they request to be part of this degree. The benefit that we've got, if it's the professional master's degree, it means that you can go into that degree with any 4-year engineering degree. You can do the professional master's degree, because there's not the requirement that you need to be a computer scientist or to have a background knowledge in this qualification. You can go directly into the professional master's degree. So at this stage, of, the preference is actually the professional master's degree. And that is from our side the questions we will get later. And I say thank you to everybody.
Thank you very much for that very informative presentation, Prof. Joey. Next up, I'd like us to move over to the panel discussion for this evening. If I can maybe ask Prof. Meera to turn on her video for the short Q&A session. Welcome back, panelists. Prof. Meera, please to share with us, what advice would you give to a telecommunications or electronic engineer with around 10 years working experience who is interested in developing their skills in cybersecurity? Prof. Meera, sorry, you're muted.
I think they can start off with the certified ethical kind of certificate, or if they have built some knowledge already, there's the Oxford Cybersecurity for business leaders. That's the course that they can look for because they're already professionals, and probably there's managing risk and information age. There's another one. So these are good for people who are 10 years down the line because they know the basics already probably. And looking at the UCT one before, fundamentals in cybersecurity, if they want to start off with the basics. And looking at the degree program, the degree program that's coming up, they can move forward to the degree as well, what Prof. Joey was saying. Yeah.
Thanks, Prof. Meera. And I think it's important to note there that irrespective of the years of working experience that we've had as engineers, there is opportunity to grow in this field and further develop yourself. In addition, and kind of build upon the experience that you already have. So thanks for sharing that, Prof. Meera. In addition to that, what are some of the prerequisite knowledge that is recommended for an engineer to attain before pursuing some of the certifications that you recommended one can take?
You can even go for a certified ethical hacker to start off with, or the fundamentals of cybersecurity, as I said, or the CompTIA security course, or even the CISSP courses that you have available, right? So those are the basic things that one could start off with. Start from fundamentals and look for those courses that I showed you in the previous one of my slides as well. There are basic courses that one could do. Yes.
All right, thanks, Prof. Meera. And I think also to share from my experience as well, some of the short courses on online training platforms such as Udemy, edX, these Coursera, these training platforms are an easier way, a shorter way of actually just getting a fay with the content and to discover more about the areas that you're specifically interested in developing yourself in. Another easy way, or shall I say a way to get into the field, is to practice and to kind of be curious, set up labs if you can, like Dr. Renier mentioned, and discover, use hackathons as a way to discover and learn. So thank you so much for that, Prof. Meera. Dr. Renier, tell us, how does one start off with getting involved with learning how to compete in a challenge such as the one that you mentioned?
Okay, so that depends on your skill level. So if you're already quite skilled in networking and or cybersecurity, there are actually quite a lot of these capture the flags competitions open, where you can basically then just choose one to compete that are open, or we had compete in ours. If you want to start off with, if you have little skill, then actually these courses that Prof mentioned are definitely the way to start, just to give you a heads up of the start. And then basically, as any sort of programming problem, it's always good to try to start to solve one problem. Don't try to start solve all the problems. So if you're interested in information security, are you actually interested in passwords? Are you interested in reverse engineering? Are you interested in networking? Start with one small sub-discipline and read about it, learn about it, and then from that basically move on.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Renier. What are some of the cybersecurity jobs or careers one may pursue if they develop their skills that enable them to participate in hacking challenges specifically?
Okay, so in South Africa, there are quite a few companies that does vulnerability scanning and penetration testing as a service. And they are actually very interested in the people that take part of the cybersecurity challenge, because they're always actually recruiting. Then the big auditing firms also usually have some cybersecurity department or service as a part of the risk assessment. Excuse me. And then within big companies in the information field also have a cybersecurity group like Vodacom, MTN, even all big corporates that probably have some kind of cybersecurity group which they can join. So the field is very wide and diverse.
Thank you, Dr. Renier. And I think also to build upon that is the need for vulnerability assessments in the industrial control space, right? We could use our engineering skills and knowledge to be able to identify those vulnerabilities, but also to remediate them and to design controls that we can then effect in that environment. So I think it's important to note that while it's fun to learn these new skills, that there is a space for it in the job and career market as you develop yourself. So thank you so much for that. Prof. Joey, would you please expand and tell us more about, if you're in, could an electrical or electronic engineer register to complete their cybersecurity master's degree? That is, I think you did touch upon it in your presentation when you mentioned that this is possible, but just to expand a little bit more about that is, what are some of the things that one would need to consider before they actually register for such a master's degree?
I think what is very important is, remember at the back, that's why we've talked about the professional master's degree, is that most of the engineers do not have the generic background for this type, for the cybersecurity, depending on what areas they've done and what electives they've done as part of the university studies. But most of the electrical engineers will not have detailed knowledge in the cyber environment, and also not in the data science environment. But the degree will give them all the background knowledge that they need. The degree will not be registered at this stage at EXA that we think of, because of all the EXA rules and regulations, and that we want to make it open for computer scientists and all the other people as well. And EXA is very stringent on who they allow to get into a degree if it's an engineering degree. So at this stage, we do not see that we will make it the engineering masters, but it will give an engineering person the opportunity to go into the cybersecurity. And if he's got the engineering degree, he can still be registered as a professional engineer, but then he can change his focus absolutely to cybersecurity. So I think that is the best way for the engineers to go into, because there's a huge scope for engineers in this field.
Absolutely, Prof. Joey. And I think just to expand on that a bit, that's exactly the career path that I took for myself. I registered as a professional engineer, and thereafter took on and completed certifications in the cybersecurity field to enhance my experience and knowledge. So Thank you very much. That is true. It is possible to do it that way. So to build upon that, what advice would you give to an electronic engineer should they wish to pivot their careers and pursue not just a master's in cybersecurity, but looking at some of the newer technologies that are coming out where cybersecurity will then be a need to address?
It's very interesting that you referred to that, because I've got a lot to do with some data scientists in the banks, etc. And you won't believe it, but there's quite a lot of engineers that actually refocus themselves now to be data scientists and to work together with cybersecurity and data science. So that is already a possibility that some engineers want to do. But to go over to the data science and the cybersecurity, as what we talked about, this master's degree, you have to refocus a little bit, because you're going a little bit away from the hardware focus alone. You have to put in the human focus and the social focus and organization focus, especially if you go into management, etc. That is normally not part of your normal engineering degree. So they have to refocus a little bit, although a lot of the people working in this cybersecurity operations centers, the high-level people that is doing the investigations, etc., they're really, really technical and very high-level technical skills required from them. But I will, in that case, I will sorry, I just want to say, in that case, I will start with a few short courses, and then they can read. There is, for instance, I know data science courses that you can do internationally to refocus yourself as well.
Thanks, Prof. Joey. I think the opportunities that are ahead of us with the convergence of technology also presents the opportunity to look at this field not as pivoting and changing your career path, but kind of adapting your skill sets from an engineering perspective as well as an information systems perspective. So I think it's just expanding your mind on that convergence of topics. So that's all for the panel. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Renier.
Yes, for me as an example, for my first decade, I worked as an embedded engineer before I even started moving into cybersecurity, and I definitely quickly found a niche with my embedded knowledge to implement that into cybersecurity. So I do feel even for senior engineers, there's definitely an opening to whatever skill they are currently now with to add information security. And as you would probably know, with the industrial systems, that's a field that's probably going to explode in the next few years.
Yes, and if not already. I think there's already a scarcity in skills in this space because, like I said, it's the convergence of different areas or bodies of knowledge that are now bringing forth cybersecurity for industrial control systems. So thank you very much, panel speakers. I'd like to open the floor for questions and answers, questions from our audience, and maybe ask Minx to help us with this.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. A few of the questions that was raised was answered now in this panel discussion. And one I'd just like to just add, someone has asked about if the presentations will be made available on the website. I did answer, and now for all, yes, the recording of this webinar, together with the presentations from these presenters, will be available on the SAIEE website in PDF format. Just look out for the title of this webinar. At this moment, we don't have any questions, but we encourage anybody, if they have any questions, to ask, but I'm sure that a lot of it has been answered by your panel discussion.
Okay, and thanks so much for that, Minx. Is that another question that just came in?
No, it wasn't a question. No. I think perhaps you can conclude the webinar.
Yes. So thank you very much, speakers. Before I conclude, are there any last comments, any advice that you'd like to give to aspiring cybersecurity professionals? Let me start with Professor Joey Jansen from Vuuren.
I really think it's a very lucrative career to go into, and especially if you look at 5IR, and like Renier said, you can use so much of your engineering experience, and you can make a very good choice by moving into the cybersecurity area with your engineering experience. And because the job, there's so many jobs open over the world, you can't believe it.
Thank you, Prof. Joey, and I totally concur with that. As the opportunities, as we start, using sensors to be able to make more informed decisions, that need grows on a by-the-second basis. So thank you for that. Prof. Meera, any advice for our engineering fraternity that wants to now move into this field and develop themselves?
Yeah, I think they should have the fundamentals of cybersecurity knowledge, and probably they should have more critical thinking and cognitive skills as well, and probably more emotional intelligence kind of skills, because eventually they'll be dealing, there's an interplay between the humans and the machines in 5IR. So moving towards the next decade, obviously, this is what you're looking for, and probably a continued learning approach, because they need to upskill their knowledge. So they need to have more knowledge on new things that are coming in, and probably with the industry 5.0 as well, and more in the interaction between the humans and the machines as well. So I think it should be more on emotional intelligence side. Okay, this basic knowledge, we can get it from the certificates and from the degree, but we are dealing with humans 10 years down the line, definitely.
Yes, thanks, Prof. Meera. I think that is an element of cybersecurity that we do overlook, and that we indeed need to kind of understand what the threat landscape, but also to understand what are the vulnerabilities in our organization that lead to the exploitation of those threats. A lot of the time, it is human behavior that we build vulnerabilities around, but also the ability to use our workforce as a defense force. And that definitely requires emotional intelligence and social skills. So thank you very much for sharing that. Dr. Renier, what are your last parting thoughts for our engineering fraternity?
My last thoughts are, this is definitely a change if you're interested in lifelong learning, because cybersecurity is an arms race, and it will basically never end in our lifetimes. And then it's definitely a field if you're interested in learning new stuff. So that's my final.
Thanks for that, Dr. Renier. And I think I definitely concur. There isn't a day that goes by that something new doesn't pop up on my radar and for me to learn. So in conclusion, I'd like to leave with a little quote by Henry Ford, where he wrote that anyone who stops learning is old. Whether at 20 or 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. So with that, I would like to say to everyone here, use the opportunities available to you to remain young. And from all of us at the Cybersecurity Chapter, as well as the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, we'd like to say good night. Thank you so much for attending.